Sunday, July 9th, 2023. Here today is a special surprise, a revelation, an exposition, an expose of the sanctuary recording studio of the Greater New Bethel Baptist Church of Linden, Alabama, under the leadership of Albert Franklin Lankster. This is a rare showing of the physical plant with my pedigree and other memorabilia, the details of which I cannot totally elaborate upon. But here is the physical plant, the interior of the physical plant. And I want to focus on this exhibit right here. The man in the necktie at the bottom, center screen, is my brother, Attorney Baron Douglas Lankster. And I gave up a profitable career as a portfolio manager to return to Alabama to get my brother elected as the district attorney for the 17th Judicial Circuit. And we were successful in getting him elected. But shortly after he was elected, two whites were jailed for vandalizing and burning black churches. He prosecuted them. And we unseated a 16-year entrenched district attorney who on radio broadcasts during the campaign, failed to answer the question that was asked of him. The question was, what does John 3:16 say? He was unable to answer that question. But this is the sanctuary where I deliver all of my messages from. There you have the Jan Steiche life-size painting on display in Forest Lawn in the Hollywood Hills of California, Southern California. And there is the work of my hands, homemade church. Matter of fact, the entire facility, the church itself, homemade. I built this church by myself. I'm approaching the pastor's corner here. That's my desk. But above my desk, I have Satan's modus operandi, how the devil works. But on the other side, and you'll see it in a minute, I have a exposition showing how God works. But first I'm going to go into the foyer and show you what goes on in there. Here is the foyer. Beneath that photograph there is my showcase. Top the showcase, you see a photograph of Reverend Jesse Jackson and myself, taken on the Selma Montgomery Highway at the Interpretive Center. Inside that showcase in the lower right-hand side, you will see a Makita skill saw. That is a saw that I was using while working on top of the roof of the church. And that saw is in the showcase because I nearly cut my finger off using that saw. Also in the background, you'll see the hammer. Every nail driven in the construction of this church was driven by that hammer right there. And I want to get that in the record. Over here, this is a entrance door to the men's restroom. Over here, small restrooms. Entrance door to the women's restroom. I don't know if these articles are visible, but there you have the Secretary of State of Alabama, Jim Bennett, acknowledging me. And there's my charter issued by the Secretary of State, license to preach, building permit, and the City of Linden Department of Building Inspection, Electrical Inspection Department approved of my electrical wiring. I did all of the plumbing, all of the electrical wiring, planning and design myself. Now, this is a photograph of the entry into the sanctuary recording studio. But over here on the wall, I'm going to give you a picture of God's modus operandi, how God works. There you see how God works. Goodness, holiness, justice, truth, and wisdom. Those are the elements of holiness, goodness, justice, truth, wisdom. They equal holiness, rather. Let me move here. I picked this up at the Long Beach, California Convention Center at a workshop I attended, sponsored by the Institute in Basic Life Principles. This right here is a contribution, this poster is a contribution from Dr. Ruth Fenella Henderson that backed me up in the building of this church. God rest her soul today. Thank God that she's still alive and with us. Here you have an index box. Every structural member of the church is on display in this index box. Seals, floor joists, subfloor, insulation, wall studs, rafters, interior and exterior sheathing, electrical wire. The entire index box shows everything that's in this church sanctuary. There's Isaiah's portrayal of Jesus Christ. You have here the letter from the Birmingham jail. I'm about to conclude this presentation. I've got 8 minutes going. But I must focus on this gentleman right here, the late Reverend Caesar Arthur Walter Clark Sr., 1914-2008. Dr. Caesar Clark came to the church at Greater New Bethel in Inglewood. Earl Pleasant, our pastor, invited him. He was a longtime friend of the Pleasant family, and he preached there. But he said something that hit me like a ton of bricks. He said, I will tell you where Jesus hangs out at around here. I hadn't been in California for 2 weeks. I didn't know anything or anybody. But he told me where Jesus hang out at. And guess what he said? He said, Jesus hangs out in these Skid Row hotels around here, which is where I was living. And that's where I was when Jesus slipped into my room. God rest the soul of Robert Coleman Adams. I'm going to wrap this thing up and upload it to the internet. There you have the steps that I designed using this pattern. They exhibit the progressive steps towards spiritual maturity, meekness, penitence, humility, spiritual hunger, mercifulness, inward purity, peacemaking, and sacrificial service, all based on Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Here in the corner is my Southern California photograph when photograph taken just before I moved to Linden to get my brother elected. So there you have it, the sanctuary recording studio of the Greater New Bethel Baptist Church of Linden, Alabama. Now I'm about to wrap this video up, but I want you to know that I've been meditating and thinking on a sermon subject entitled God Is. I may deliver it next week, but I need to announce the fact that a couple of days ago I received an unsolicited financial contribution to the church from Chuck Sewell. And as you know, I almost never solicit funds. I never passed a hat, I never begged for money. And here's why. Because God does not need your money. Once you get saved, your wallet, your billfold, your pocketbook, your money gets saved right along with you. And when you get saved, God don't have to ask you for it. You're going to bring it on in. You see on the rear wall of the sanctuary recording studio, 2 white posters. On the right is how the devil works. On the left is how God works. I'm working with God today, my friend, and I invite you to join me in the work. God bless you and keep you till we meet again. Recording time is 12 minutes and 28 seconds. Have a blessed day, and goodbye.